while the Indian Air Force aircraft will perform a flypast as well this afternoon. Earlier yesterday, in fact, observing that the world is moving towards a new world order, the Prime Minister had said that India's capability and the country's role is changing fast. And India, besides being the mother of democracy, is a model of diversity. This is what he said while he touched down in Paris. These are live visuals we are getting you ahead of the Bastille Day parade celebrations. There you can see the French President, Emmanuel Macron, ahead of him giving the Prime Minister a warm welcome as the guest of honor at this event. The Prime Minister does have a two-day power-packed visit. On the agenda have been a lot of things, from meetings with CEOs to meeting the Indian diaspora and obviously discussing business with the French President. In fact, interacting with members of the Indian community in Paris, our Prime Minister had announced that an agreement has been reached for use of India's unified payments interface in France. So UPI will be a reality in France soon for all Indian tourists. The Prime Minister also said France has decided to grant long-term 5-year visas for students pursuing a master's degree in their country. Also this morning, we have seen spectacular visuals of Indian and French soldiers interacting ahead of the Bastille Day parade. Soldiers of the Punjab regiment fought and shed blood in Western Europe during the First World War, as we've mentioned earlier. They are heroes and they are honoured participants at the French National Day as well. The stage is being set. You can see the Prime Minister is there. He is meeting all these officials. Vishnu Shom has been tracking all the latest developments for us. He's in Paris with the Prime Minister as well. Let's go across to him for the latest update on the Bastille Day parade celebration.
He's being greeted by the French President as well. And there's a huge sense of excitement over here with the Bastille Day parade, the National Day of France. That parade is going to be starting in a short while from now. The French President here, Prime Minister Modi is here as well. There's an entire sense of camaraderie that we've actually seen between Indian soldiers who are over here. They'll be marching down the Champs-Élysées, and their French counterparts. We've got some images of that, hopefully, which should be playing out as well. There's the Punjab regiment, which will be marching. There'll be the Indian Navy contingent and also an Indian Air Force contingent. And the historic connect between Indian forces and war fighting in France is something that's not lost to anyone, in fact. I should mention that in the First World War, thousands of Indian soldiers, also in the Second World War, were killed fighting in Western Europe. Indian soldiers of the Punjab regiment, the same regiment which is going to be marching today, had participated with distinction in the First World War. They'd won battle honors in Neuve-Chapelle, battle honors in Loos, in Ypres, which is very close to the border between with France, but which is in Belgium. They'd had a big role in the Battle of Ypres and in Flanders Fields. These were areas where mustard gas, chemical weapons were used for the first time in military history. And so our soldiers, braved that, and they had a sterling role. And today, more than 100 years later, to have those soldiers marching down the Champs-Élysées, and it's going to be all over here through this entire route. And they're going to be sort of marching in front of the President of France and the Prime Minister of India, who is chief guest today. It is truly incredible. And of course, there's more excitement, which is going to be right at the end of the Bastille Day when the flypast takes place. And in that flypast, there will be 3 Rafales of the Indian Air Force, which will be flying overhead. So, and I should mention there's an Indian Navy destroyer, the INS Chennai, deployed out at Brest, and they are considered to be a part very much of the Bastille Day celebrations, which of course the celebrations taking place across this country. So, it is quite a day today. We've got a lot of dignitaries over here. We've got the parade all set to start. I was by. In fact, President Macron will be arriving shortly. He's not arrived so far. We can actually see video of his motorcade, which is moving down with the commander of the parade, or perhaps their senior military leader, down the Champs-Élysées, and he's going to be arriving at this location in a few moments. He's going to be greeted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's already at his location. And so there's incredible pomp and pageantry over here, something which has always been the case with the celebrations on Bastille Day, the French National Day. So it is all really taking place now. And I should also mention that there is a symbolic a symbolic link to what is taking place here, a symbolic importance, but there is also a very substantive part of this visit. Remember, India is going to be uh, getting into contract negotiations for the acquisition of 26 Rafale aircraft for the Indian Navy. Um, that has been cleared by the Defense Acquisition Committee. It'll still take some time, perhaps months, if not more, for that process to actually fructify to a contract stage. But that is something that's happening. So while India talks, contractually about acquiring Rafale aircraft for the Indian Navy, overhead, you'll be having Indian Air Force Rafale fighters, 3 of which have flown all this way to be a part of these celebrations. So it's all going to be starting out now. I was with the soldiers of the Punjab Regiment, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force a little while back, and there is this incredible sense of Josh in the marching contingent. They're very, very happy to be out over here and marching. And the historic connect is something that they've all been told about, and it's not lost upon them at all. Prime Minister Modi has also been honored by the highest civilian honor by the French government. He's already met the French president last night. There have been bilateral level talks which have taken place. There'll be more talks today. There'll be a press conference today, and then the Prime Minister departs for the United Arab Emirates, which is going to be the second part of this very important visit. If you look at the overall relationship between India and France, it is an important strategic relationship. And I think the point that we really need to talk about is that India has strategic relationships with so many countries, ranging from the United States to Russia. And this is something that's worked extremely well for India. So we saw Prime Minister Modi just a couple of weeks back in the United States talking with another important strategic partner in another important context. But he's here now at the Champs-Élysées as we get these images or see these images of the French president, Mr. Macron, moving towards the location where Prime Minister Modi is. This is the Place de la Concorde. And this is where Prime Minister Modi is seated. And in fact, it is the area from where, one of the areas from where the soldiers, all of them, will actually be going down.
President Emmanuel Macron for the French National Day in Paris as the guest of honor. We are getting you live visuals from Paris at the moment. Vishnu Shom is tracking all the latest developments for us on Ground Zero in Paris. Let's go across to him for the latest.
Well, what we are looking at right now is Parmeshwar, I'll just come back to you in a moment to just fix this as we get a few more details.
Of course. Please take your time. As we reconnect with Vishnu, an Indian Tri-Services contingent will be part of the Bastille Day celebrations, while Indian Air Force aircraft will also perform a flypast today. Now, Bastille Day is set to be a more sober affair this time around than in previous years, following 5 nights of rioting from the 27th of June, as we were covering on NDTV, after the fatal police shooting of a teenager in Paris. Now, the most intense urban clashes in nearly 2 decades actually saw a lot of public destruction. However, this year, they are expecting a more sober affair. Vishnu Shom is ready to join us with a quick update from Paris. Vishnu, over to you.
Well, the French president is arriving now. We see the first horsemen arriving that you can see over there. And in a little while from now, we expect to see the first marching troops actually come by. I expect the French president to be arriving over here momentarily. But the celebrations here on Bastille Day, the French National Day, have well and truly begun. And I can see the vehicle in which President Macron, waving to the crowds, is standing in that with a senior French military official. And he is now proceeding right to the Place de Concorde, which is where Prime Minister Modi is. So that's his vehicle that you can actually see right in front on our cameras. And this is just about less than 100 meters away from where I'm standing right now. That vehicle moving across the Place de Concorde before it comes into position. And he's going to be greeted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So it is quite formal at this stage, and it's all going to start in a little while from now. So let me just try and explain what is taking place now for the benefit of our viewers. This is the Bastille Day, the French National Day. Um, it is um, uh, it is a huge celebration of democracy, of the values of the French Republic, uh, liberty, fraternity, uh, equality. These are values which India, of course, shares. These are values which the Prime Minister spoke about very, very closely when he addressed the Indian diaspora yesterday. But it is a military parade that is taking place today. And the reason why we are here and why there is so much interest in what is taking place is because of the presence of Indian soldiers, as we've been reporting now for the last couple of days. There's a tri-services contingent over here, and they are going to be marching down the Champs-Élysées. And in as much as we speak about a strategic relationship between India and France, and we talk about that strategic relationship from the standpoint of new weapon systems, I can also tell you that there is a historic link which feeds into the overall strategic nature of the relationship. And that historic link is of thousands of Indian soldiers having been killed in Western Europe, including in France, in the Great Wars. In the First World War, 74,000 Indian soldiers lost their lives, not all in Western Europe, but certainly in many areas close to Western Europe. President Macron is now making his way. He's going to be greeted in just a few moments. Let's take a look.